Happy Friday, everyone. In true unprofessional fashion, I didn't download another recording studio app, and I got 5 minutes into my ridiculous iMovie video, and I froze again in another unflattering, ugly way, with my double chin and everything. So now we're doing cell phone Friday. And then I did attempt to download another application, but network error. Just go figure. Go figure. It has been one of those days that has just been so blah, and a lot of crazy stuff has been going on. I had started to talk about how yesterday was my birthday. Yay! Usually I'm pretty excited about my birthday. And I can't say I wasn't excited about it, but just the last few months have been so hard and so stressful and sad in some ways. And I don't know, I wasn't as pumped as I usually am. And I even had moments where I was a bit down, and that never happens to me. I'm generally pretty stoked. Although I will say, I don't ever take off from work for my birthday. Am I the only one who doesn't do this? I'm just curious, how many of you actually do take off for your birthday? Do you make it like a big celebratory thing, or do you just say, oh, like it's just another year? I'm curious. I want to know. Tell me below. And I'm starting to think that maybe it might be a good idea if I do celebrate my birthday a little bit more going forward. I always do something nice. I always go to dinner with my family, and depending if it's a weekday or a weekend, maybe we'll do something a little extra. But I never take off from work. Last year I remember being in the office on my birthday, and I hadn't really told anyone, and then I did mention it, and then they got frantic and secretly went and sent somebody out for a cake, which was really, really nice. And to those people, I was really, really grateful. I used to work between two different offices, and both of them on different days got me a cake. So that was really special. I think the year before, I have to check my calendar, but I'm pretty sure that I may have been on call on my birthday. I don't know. But I think going forward, just as we're getting older and life gets harder and less guaranteed, I think maybe I might consider taking off from work on my birthday. I work with someone, and her birthday was 2 days ago, and she's a little bit of a higher up, and she took off for her birthday. And I was like, oh, maybe it's time to be a little bit more celebratory about birthdays and a little bit less, oh, it's just another year, it's just another thing. Maybe I should be a little bit more grateful. I don't know, what do you think? Let's see. And I guess that because I'm still at this impasse in my life. Like I have a couple of degrees, and so I had the luxury. Not everybody has this luxury, but I had the luxury of being able to step back from one profession, knowing that I had another profession to fall back on. That's really nice. So money is not really a concern for me. Except I don't love what I'm doing now either. I sort of took a job sort of as a cushion until I could figure things out. And everyone is lovely at this job. I just don't actually like the job itself, which I don't think I've ever really had that before, where I just didn't actually like the job. Like, even when I was working as a midwife and my schedule was miserable and I was exhausted, I never woke up not liking going to work. I always looked forward to it. So I'm kind of in this new weird place, but I just haven't figured things out yet. So I'm kind of I'm having a bit of an existential crisis right now. Kind of not sure where I'm going to end up. I do kind of cling to this notion of moving again. I mean, I haven't moved a lot in my life, but we moved up here. It was supposed to be permanent, and I guess it never really just, like, that feeling of this is it. It's only kind of sort of taken, and in the last few months, just being in this weird place has made me just want something totally different. It's changed everything that I want. So I guess I have the only thing I really kind of have to cling to right now is this idea that maybe in a year we could just sell and, be in warmer climate year round and be close to friends and beaches, and I don't know. But yeah, I think there's just so much I haven't figured out yet. And I kind of thought that at this point in my life, I would have had this figured out. And I did have it figured out. I did make decisions. I went to school, I got one set of degrees, then I got another set of degrees, got my master's, had all these plans. I fulfilled all those plans. I conquered every goal I've ever set out to do. Seriously, I have actually fulfilled every goal I've ever set out. Hard ones and simple ones, which is kind of cool. So technically I'm pretty accomplished for my age, but I guess I'm at this point now where I really don't want to do what I set out to do anymore. I did it, it's done, move on to the next thing. So what happens when you're at this point in your life and you're kind of questioning who you are and where you want to be? Have any of my friends out there been there yet? Have you had this second guess of, where am I, and are the decisions that I made the right ones? Let me know, because sometimes it does feel like a very lonely feeling, and I know people who really just didn't make anything of themselves. They didn't really try very hard, and they're kind of stuck where they are. But even though I accomplished everything, I'm kind of feeling like that. I'm kind of feeling like that person who just didn't accomplish anything. And I know it's not the same thing, but is it selfish to want to be fulfilled in work? Is it selfish to say, I want to make a lot of money and take care of my family, but I also really want to be happy at work? I mean, once upon a time, the generations before us, they didn't do this. They didn't have these, therapy type thoughts, where they, oh, what do I want to do with my life? No, you had to get up and you had to go to work, and you had to work at a job that was horrible and demeaning, and you got paid pretty much nothing. And, some people got paid well, but you just took what you got and you put food on your family's table. So I'm just wondering if I'm at this place where, am I selfish, or is it right to just keep looking to try to figure out where I want to be? I don't want to be one of those people that people talk about and they go, oh, she quit her field. She's trying to find herself. I'm not that crazy. Or am I? I don't know. I have a new set of goals. Last year, I remember thinking, wow, I've completed every goal I've ever set out to do. Maybe this is it now. Maybe there are no new set of goals. And then something just hit me all this hit me like a Mack truck, and boom, new set of goals. I had no goals for a while because I'd done everything. How weird is that? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I have actually, I can open up my laptop now and I can, I guess, read some of the things that I had on topic if it'll open, because everything seems to be glitching. Like all my applications or programs just seem to be glitching. So I had wanted to talk about back, I think, earlier in the week. So Kamala Harris, she went to Guatemala to deal with, I guess, to deal with the border crisis, not directly in our borders. And when she arrived, Guatemalans had signs up, like these anti-Kamala signs, and they said things like "Kamala, go home," like "mind your business." And my favorite was the Kamala, like, Trump won. Whether or not you agree, that's some pretty expert level trolling from a country that supposedly, not letting people in, that not allowing people from that country in is racist, but like I don't know, they don't seem to really like her very much. But then she gave a speech about migration and crossing our borders, because we've had this huge influx. And she said, stay home. She said, don't come. And I have to admit, like, those are her words. Like, she said, if you're thinking about crossing the border, don't come. You will be turned away. And I was surprised because, we were told that if you told people from other countries not to come and cross our borders illegally, that we were, it's a racist thing to do. It's racist and it's hateful just because the people who cross our borders happen to be, what do they call them? Black and brown people. I don't refer to them as that. I think that's actually kind of derogatory, personally, to call someone a brown person. I don't know. But she said not to come, and so does this mean that Kamala Harris is racist now? I'm just curious. Does that mean that she hates, brown people now? Because they say that, you can be self-hating. So does that mean that she's self-hating now? I don't know. What are your thoughts? I can't seem to open the documents that I want to open, because my notepad is glitchy and I'm using my cell phone, which means that I can't actually look on my phone. I give up. I can't even recall the name because it won't open, but there was somebody who runs I think a Christian newspaper, and I can't recall his name. And what he had said was he would no longer be hiring people from Ivy League colleges, Ivy League college graduates, or woke people, because they're completely selfish and whiny. And as simple of a concept as that might sound, and you might say, well, okay, like it's a Christian newspaper, because I kind of said the same thing, like, okay, well, is that really going to do anything? Was he really hiring people from Ivy League colleges anyway? And it's a Christian newspaper. Do people really read it? But back to what I was talking about last week, about people, standing up to the culture war, to the culture and to the powers that be. This is what needs to happen now. I think there needs to be a giant, large-scale rejection of the culture the way that it's going. And, let's be honest, of Ivy League schools, because colleges are now a place for indoctrination. It's no longer a place where you open your mind and you gain intelligence. Now it's a place where you go, you're churned out to think sort of like a pod person, and you're indoctrinated to this leftist ideology, and you become woke, and essentially your brain falls out in university, and especially in the higher up universities. So it does trickle down to even community colleges, but I think the Ivy League colleges, the ivory towers, they have it the worst. They're the biggest offenders, and I think it's about time we start to denounce Ivy League colleges. Companies that want to hire the best of the best. Well, first and foremost, Ivy League colleges aren't the best of the best. They have the most money, and they have the most power and the most connections. To get in is extremely difficult, but once you're in and you're cared for, and you don't necessarily have to be the best student. Just so long as you keep your GPA where at the bare minimum, but just graduating, you're not going to learn anything more. You're not going to get a special education. You're not going to learn something different in English 101 in Yale that you wouldn't get in English 101 in community college. And I can tell you, as someone who climbed the ranks of universities, I was a late bloomer. I left high school. My senior year. I dropped out. I got my GED on time, went to work, and I didn't want to go to college until my daughter was born, and then I decided to go to college. So I started out at community college, my local community college. It was a fantastic experience. I got my sciences, my electives, my English classes, my microbiology, all of that. And then I took the other classes that were pertinent to my degree. And I got a fantastic, well-rounded education there. And I'm not a big reader, and it's not because I don't want to, it's because I do have a bit of a reading disability, which I didn't discover, by the way, till I was in my late 30s. I'm very well read, and I'm a brilliant speller, a fanatical about spelling and grammar, but when I read, I have a difficult time concentrating and keeping up. So not only do I have, sort of that short attention span when it comes to reading, but I can't fully absorb what it is. I can't process what it is that I'm reading. And it finally occurred to me why it takes me 5 times longer. It would take me in school 5 times longer to grasp a topic than my co-students, because they could just read and regurgitate, and I can't do that. I have to listen, I have to see, I have to do. I'm more tactile. So, but I will say that when I was in community college, in my English writing classes, the books that my kooky professor recommended, required us to read, I felt was so good that I actually held on to them. And that for me is a big thing. One of them was by Oliver Sacks. And another one was about these, I think they were identical twins. They were black sisters that were like 100 years old or something. And it was called Having Our Say. And it was such a beautiful book about where they grew, growing up, and, and they're together and they're 100 years old. And it was such a great book. I loved it. So, and I know that my education in another school would have been quite similar. You're reading a novel, you write about it, it's not anything special. So you could pay $250 a credit for that, or you could pay $1,300 to $1,500 a credit for that. And it's the same class. And I know this because when I finally graduated from community college, got my degree, and I had to take the same exact exams, national exams, that I would have taken if I had gone to a fancier, more expensive college. You have to sit for the national boards. So it was no different. Same education, qualified for the same jobs, but cheaper, and no student loans. After I was done with that, I got so that was my associate's degree. I got my bachelor's online, a little more expensive than community college, but still cheaper than these like big universities. And I did that in 10 months. I tripled up on classes. Classes were every 8 weeks. Did that. And then I did my master's at NYU. It's not quite Ivy League. It's like a wannabe Ivy League school, but it's still up there. And people put that as their first choice for university. I hated NYU. It was a junk school. They were woke and absurd and overpriced. And the only reason why I had gone there was they were one of 4 schools that offered the program for being a midwife in New York. There were 2 online programs, and one wasn't accepting applications at the time, and the other one was just as expensive. It was Columbia, and they required a GRE exam. And I was like, why am I going to waste my time doing this? Like, I've proven that I'm smart. I don't need to take another extra exam to get in to an equally as expensive college just for the name. So I said no to that. And the other school was, they weren't offering anything in the evening, and I was working full time. So I settled on NYU. My job at the time was paying 100% of my tuition. And thankfully, but when they did a large scale layoff, I ended up on the hook for the rest of the tuition. And I had a miserable experience at NYU. It was terrible. It was so ridiculous. It was a terrible school. And I'm not entirely proud that I went there. So, but I felt that the quality of the education that I received at my community college was far superior. You actually had professors standing in front of the class and orating and teaching, and you could take notes, and sometimes, and they had PowerPoints, but like there was meat to them, and they had PowerPoints, but things that you can add to them. Whereas in NYU, they're like, you teach yourself. We give you a little bit, and the rest is on you to teach yourself. And I'm like, I'm not paying you to make me teach myself. Like, I felt that was such a ripoff. And so, and I know I've gone on a complete tangent here, but the point I'm trying to make is that colleges are just factories. They're a waste of money in a lot of cases. Not everyone needs a college degree. If you want to go into medicine or specialized fields, yeah, you do. But not everything should require a college degree. There are things that didn't always require college. And I think we kind of need to go back to that, because we're giving college too much credit. And there are people out there who are going because they think they're supposed to, that it will help them, and all it does is hurt them. And so back to my point about, this editor that doesn't want to hire these Ivy League students. I think that I'd like to see a new trend develop where corporations and business owners stop looking at degrees and stop looking at specific schools. And if you can start, saying, don't bother applying here if you went to Yale Harvard, UCLA, Berkeley, any of those, don't bother. I would love to see the country, kind of go on trend in that. Imagine if the guy that graduated community college, or the guy who didn't go to community college but says, listen, I don't have a degree, but here's what I can do, and I can prove it to you. I have the skills, and you don't have to pay me based on my degree. Imagine what would happen to the workforce and to people out there just who don't want to go into debt for some ridiculous amount of money just to get a job where it'll take them 20 years to pay back their loans. I know I'm one of them. What a different world it would be. So I think one of the ways that we can fight back in the culture is to stop hiring these woke idiots. They're the ones that are running the HR departments. They're the ones that are running the PR departments. And this is why you're getting stupid ads aimed at people that, and no one's buying it. It's just such a load of garbage. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. I think this went on longer than I expected, so I didn't really get to all the topics. I went on a ramble. That's what I do. But in fairness, it's been kind of a weird day, and I felt like going on a ramble. And it's my birthday, so you'll give this to me. Or it was my birthday. Yesterday was my birthday, but this will be my birthday weekend. Tell me what you think. Thanks for listening. Hopefully next week I'll actually have things up and running and we'll be a little bit more organized. But again, this is Rissa's Unprofessional, where anything can happen, and if we're a little bit disorganized, well, that's just the nature of the game. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Be well.